Have you ever dreamed of a more successful, freer, and more prosperous future? A safer, fairer, and more committed tomorrow? The future does not build itself. We build it together, with vision, responsibility, and the will to move forward as one. At Indra Group, we create technology with purpose to protect what truly matters, today and tomorrow. We drive a cutting-edge Spanish industry and systems in the service of national and European autonomy and sovereignty, of society, of our armed forces, and of you. Our talent is the key. We know it's not just about innovation, but about building a better future for everyone. Because at the heart of every breakthrough, there is a commitment to life. If you've dreamed of transforming the world, this is the moment. This is our moment. Indra Group.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning, esteemed shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to address you for the first time as non-executive chairman of Indra at this general shareholders meeting and to welcome you here. First of all, and before going to the event proper, I would like to welcome you on behalf of the board of directors on my own and thank you for your presence and the trust you place in Indra. The possibility of also attending this ordinary shareholder meeting electronically has been enabled as detailed in the notice of call. Therefore, I also welcome all of those attending electronically and thank you those who, not being able to attend, have conferred their representation or exercised their right to vote by remote means. For Indra, the participation of its shareholders in the meeting is very important, and it is very gratifying to see the interest shown by participating at this event. I am accompanied at the bureau by the CEO, Mr. Recurrence, the Secretary of the Boards, Mr. De Bath, and the Vice Chairman of the Board and Coordinating Independent Director, Ms. Arce, and the Chair of the Audit and Compliance Committee, Ms. Fernandez, the latter by video conference. The rest of the directors will also attend this meeting in person or by video conference, as well as the company's senior management. By agreement of the board of directors, the notary public, Mr. Eduardo Martín Alcalde, present here, has been required to draw up a notarial record of this meeting. Therefore, in accordance with the provisions of Article 203.2 of the Capital Companies Act, it will not be necessary to submit to this meeting the approval of the minutes at the end of the meeting. I give the floor to the Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Having constituted the Bureau of the Board with the members mentioned by the Chairman, I now inform you of the following points. The meeting has been duly convened by publishing the mandatory announcement of the company's website and on the CNMV's website on 27 May 2026, as well as in the newspaper El Mundo on 28 May 2026. It is hereby stated that the company has not received any request for the publication of a supplement to the call for proposals, nor have any proposals for alternative resolutions been submitted on the matters already included in the agenda. I also inform you that from the date of the call and until today, the company has made all the information provided for in Article 518 of the Capital Companies Act uninterruptedly available on the corporate website. The electronic shareholders forum has also been set up on the company's corporate website, and access to it was provided both to the shareholders and the voluntary associations constituted and registered in the CNMV. The data of the capital attending the meeting: 148 shareholders present, holders of 50,919,17 shares, representing 28.82%. Shareholders represented 239, holders of 71,562,629 shares, representing 40.51% of capital stake. In total, 387 shareholders, holders of 122,480,150 shares, representing 69.33% of capital stock. Consequently, 49.8% of these shares are represented or held by the board or any members of the secretary of this body. The counting of the last cards and the registration of attendees by telematic means is being finalized, so before starting the vote on the agreements, the final attendance scores will be read. Thank you very much. After hearing the provisional attendance data provided by the Secretary, I declare this general meeting provisionally constituted on second call, and this session begins at this time. I give the floor to the notary. I must ask you whether there are any reservations or objections to the statements concerning the number of concurrent partners or the capital present. I remind shareholders who attend telematically that in the computer application they have a link to convey to this notary the reservations or objections that they wish to express. Thank you, Mr. Notary. I shall now give the floor to the Secretary to explain the procedure to be followed in relation to shareholders taking the floor. Thank you. If any shareholder present in the meeting wishes to take the floor to request information or clarifications in relation to the items on the agenda or on the public information provided to the CNMV since the last general meeting or the auditor's report, or to formulate proposals for resolutions on those matters as permitted by the law, do not need to appear on the agenda. You must notify one of the attendants present in the room who will accompany them to the lectern. I ask the shareholders who wish to speak to anticipate in the documents provided to them to question they wish to raise in order to speed up the development of the speaking time. Likewise, if they wish their speech to be recorded verbatim in the minutes, they must deliver it in writing so that the notary can compare it with the delivered speech. The shareholders who have indicated their intention to speak will do so sequentially when the chairman opens the floor for speeches. When the time comes when they're called from the bureau, the shareholder must go to one of the microphones installed in the corridor to my left of the room. After all the shareholders' speeches are heard, where appropriate, they will be answered by the bureau or by the chairman. In relation to the shareholders who attend electronically, as detailed in the notice of call, they have been able to submit their speech or question through the app until the moment when the chairman has provisionally declared the valid constitution of the meeting, indicating if they wish to intervene. In accordance with the provisions of the notice of call, their speeches will be sent to the attendees and will be answered during the course of the meeting in writing within 7 days. We will now hear the speeches by the President, the CEO, and the CFO.
At Indra Group, we are proud to be a global company focused on innovation and driven by top talent. We are firmly committed to the strategic autonomy of Spain and Europe. Our ambition is to develop solutions with full European technological sovereignty, fostering dual-use technologies and contributing to the development of a strong, competitive, and resilient industry. We play a central role in major programs transforming the defense industry. We are one of the world's leading radar manufacturers and a strategic NATO supplier, as well as leaders in Europe's largest cyber defense program and in the future of land combat systems. In the space domain, we are developing an integrated vision that supports a secure communications ecosystem, along with strategic solutions for surveillance, Earth observation, and navigation. We have brought our air traffic expertise to every corner of the world, and today, more than 180 countries use our technology. serving over 85% of global passengers. In addition, our solutions are already part of everyday mobility, making it more efficient, safe, and sustainable in more than 100 big cities for over 78 million people. We develop sovereign artificial intelligence in a cyber-resilient environment to manage hybrid conflicts and ensure the comprehensive protection of citizens, territories, and critical physical and digital infrastructures and assets. We drive the transformation of companies, institutions, and governments by putting people at the center and generating real positive impact. At Indra Group, we believe in technology as an opportunity to protect, support, and improve people's lives. And we work every day to ensure it is present at key moments and in critical places, strengthening our security and autonomy and protecting what truly matters. Indra Group.
Señora.
Esteemed shareholders, good morning. I would like to start my presentation highlighting the welcome at the beginning of the session for those who are here face-to-face and those who are present electronically. For me, it is a privilege to chair this general shareholder meeting in an important moment for Indra. It is a significant moment because the surroundings have and the environment have changed, and because this company is in the right situation to be able to respond to these different circumstances. I would like to share a few reflections with you this morning, and I have to start by acknowledging the team of Indra for the incredible results during 2025. As Mr. Forteza will explain, the company has improved significantly in all the economic metrics. The sales and turnover are increasing. They're grown by 13%. EBITDA is reaching 634 million, 17% more than during the previous year. And the net result is standing at 436 million compared to the previous year. These results allow us to fulfill our commitments towards shareholders, and therefore the board will propose a dividend of 0.3 per action, an increase of with regard to previous years. This has to do with great work by the employees, and I would therefore like to share some analysis that are essential with regard to Indra's project for the next year. We live in a world where security is no longer perceived as a remote matter for states. It has become a public good that is related to the trust of citizens towards administrations and companies. The capacity of maintaining this trust in the face of external threats is now the main objective of the defense and security system in Europe, and it is essential for our national and supranational institutions, but also for the companies that are participating in the development of defense capacities that are required by Europe and its citizens. Therefore, I would like to express the firm commitment of Indra to become part of this mission and to contribute to the European public good, which is the protection of the citizens, the rights and our freedoms. The Minister report has stated this. The preparation, the capacity to anticipate, to prevent and to respond to larger threats is the main principle for Europe's security. And this cannot be prepared by silos or depend on one company, one country, or one sector. It requires collaboration. Therefore, this comprehensive approach has a consequence for the model of operating of Indra. Security has to go hand in hand with the development in the civil sector. The technology of use is the axe for innovation and defense. Indra, by history and capacity, is at the core of this pillar. Our knowledge in terms of space, mobility, airspace management, and AI is not external to our defense activity. It is the biggest driving force, and it has been built during decades. IndraMind illustrates this strength. It integrates different capacities in terms of AI, cybersecurity, and cyber defense, and it allows us to give a sovereign answer to the needs of civil and military sectors, because the industry of defense has to be able to think outside of the box, as we have seen in recent conflicts. But at the same time, it has to combine this disruptive capacity with the maintenance of industrial systems that are robust, efficient, and resilient. Indra has this capacity. Not many European companies can say the same. Europe progresses forward with a firm step towards a unique integrated market of defense. In this context, the alliance with other companies are not just a strategic option. They are a need. The European defense market has been fragmented for too many years. It has been depending on national capacities that do not generate the scale capacities that are needed. To overcome this fragmentation is also a necessary condition to overcome the digital sovereignty of Spain and Europe. At the same time, we cannot forget the collaboration culture going beyond Europe. The collaboration with ally countries will have to be maintained and will have to be boosted by the integration of the European market. We have to talk about big companies and stakeholders that can boost the European system in close collaboration with public administrations and other stakeholders that are part of the Spanish and European industrial system. For Indra, the public-private partnership and the collaboration with companies that have complementary capacities to ours is structured to our business model and our identity as a company. In particular, I would like to refer to the special modernization campaigns as a great opportunity for Indra to participate in the European system with standardized capacities. We are a Spanish company. We know the operational capacities of our country, and we have to enable the transition of the Spanish military forces in the framework of Europe. Right now, I would like to manifest our acknowledgement to Spanish armed forces for their commitment and professionalism as an essential pillar of the defense of our country in the world and European context, also acting as a driving force so that at Indra we can provide them with the best tools that they need in the development of their missions. In this new geopolitical framework, where Indra has started working on a new strategic plan that is not an incremental update of the previous one, it is an ambitious response to the challenges in a different environment, with the same objective to become one of the top companies in technology and defense in Europe. This plan will include the management of current conflicts that have shown the need for quick and adapted responses, the opportunities that have to do with the increase of European budgets in defense, and the needs brought by AI. At the same time, the strategic plan will depend on identifying large objectives for all the different divisions, Indraland, Insight, Air Traffic, Mobility, among others, with competitiveness as a driver. We will use this with regard to consolidated capacities and our leadership position in areas where trustworthiness cannot be include any mistakes. The inclusion of all these elements require specific leadership. The board has decided to include Mr. Recasens as CEO, and I would like to explain why we think he is the right person for this position. Mr. Recasens has a strong trajectory and experience in this environment, and also he's worked with regard to AI, with defense, and with the cybersecurity risks and the need to reinforce European sovereign autonomy. He doesn't have a conventional profile. He is an industrial leader with the necessary experience to be able to combine the capacity of Indra with other elements. Indra is a listed company, and the board takes on the commitment with the increase of the value and the remuneration to shareholders. We want Indra to be perceived as a first-line investment platform with regard to defense projects. This growth is based on the fulfillment of our commitments of delivery and the development of a resilient business model. In this moment, I would like to show clearly that the soundness of our delivery capacity is essential to our company. Without it, we would not be able to face our most ambitious targets, and therefore it is one of our main missions on which Mr. Recasens is working. The company has to think long-term without forgetting about legitimate expectations of shareholders in terms of profitability and value. These are not contradictory objectives. We're talking about two sides to the same ambition. No strategic plan can be executed without the right people. Indra has to be an attraction hub for professionals in Spain and in Europe. These challenges require the best professionals in all fields in an environment that allows creativity, innovation, training, and an honest comprehension of what we're dealing with. We have to generate quality employment and professional careers that bring value. A project that combines working at a large company and being part of very important projects for well-being and citizens. We want this generation of employment to be based on the territorial capacity of employment and the generation of industrial synergies that we can create if we look at Spain as a network of collaboration with the same spirit with which the Mainstream report has highlighted the security. In this regard, I would like to inform you, according to the third recommendation of the Code of Conduct of the listed companies, of the main changes carried out. On 28th of November 2025, the extraordinary meeting approved measures to be able to reinforce the independence and parity in the board. The renouncing of Ms. Mónica Espinosa changed the situation slightly, but we recovered this spirit. We have had four main changes. The rejection of Mr. Escribano, my appointment, the exit of Mr. Escribano of the company, the appointment of Mr. Recasens as CEO, substituting Mr. José Vicente de los Mozos, and the admission of Mr. Vicente Pablo Jiménez. If this is approved, these proposals are sent to the meeting. We will have 14 members, 7 independents, 50% of the total, and 6 female councillors represented 42% of the composition of the board. We consolidate different positions in full collaboration with the best international practices. The abiding by this code of conduct would move from 93.33% to 96.67% fulfillment, complying with the parity principles according to the law. Esteemed shareholders, this moment cannot be analyzed in simple terms. Europe is redefining its position in the world. The technological and defense industries is an essential part of this redefinition. Indra has the corporate stability and the experience to be able to occupy the right position in accordance with the professional aspects of the employees. We have full conviction in the board that we are in the right direction, and the trust that we are asking you for is the first step in this project. Thank you very much.
The world is racing ahead, sometimes to reach a destination, sometimes out of inertia, sometimes on impulse. We race ahead to anticipate and be prepared. Over the past few months, we have left our mark with every step we have taken. We have achieved unprecedented results and met the first objectives of our Leading the Future strategic plan ahead of schedule. Nowadays, we drive more than 400 companies, SMEs, startups, universities, vocational training, technology and research centres. By boosting Indra land vehicles, we are taking the leap towards a new generation of armoured vehicles. We are embarking on national chip production, and we have increased strategic capabilities with a new family of unmanned aerial systems. We have presented the ISAISAT project, which places Europe among the world's leading cyber defence powers. Our cutting-edge technology will equip the German Air Force with a new space surveillance radar. We have driven Indra Space, launched Indra Mind, and reached a milestone in financial innovation with the Bank of Spain's experimental programme on the use of digital tokens. In air traffic, we have achieved major contracts, such as the renewal of the United States Federal Aviation Administration's surveillance radars. And in mobility, Transport for London has entrusted us with operating the ticketing and access control systems for their more than 8.6 million daily journeys. We've come a long way, surpassing every milestone. A historic moment. And if one thing is clear, it is that with the development of the new strategic plan, we will go much further, with even more ambitious goals, so that together we can continue to make a difference. Because with vision, talent and trust, we are unstoppable. Tech ready, future steady. Go! Indra Group.
Tiene la palabra el...
Now the CEO has the floor.
Señora.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear shareholders, good morning. I would like to start by thanking the chairman and the board, their trust in me in order to take up the executive direction of Indra. I take this position with enormous responsibility, a lot of excitement, and very humbly, in order to be up to the expectations that have been placed on me. I also would like to acknowledge the work of the company during 2025. The results mentioned by the chairman are the solid foundation upon which Indra will start building its next stage. It's been a few days since I was appointed as CEO, but I got to start to meet the company, the teams, the providers, the clients, and also the challenges ahead in order to become a leading company, a benchmark in Europe in the sector of defense and technology. I have found a company that has technological capabilities that are admirable and very differentiated. The accumulated knowledge in terms of traffic management, air traffic management, or cybersecurity, defense systems, and digital transformation cannot be improvised. These are the results of decades of hard working, and it is an extraordinary asset that we need to preserve. I have found a company that is ready to take the next step if we are able to implement the rigorousness that it requires. And the chairman has outlined the strategic context in which we are operating, the reconfiguration of the European security, double-use technology as the axis of innovation in terms of defense, and also the historic times for the plans for modernization. I share fully this diagnosis. My task is to translate this into results. In the technological and defense industry, credibility is built by delivering on time and fulfilling our promises. There is no reputation if we do not have the necessary discipline for this delivery. When our customers and clients are the military forces and the forces that are in charge of protecting the citizens, there is no margin for error. So we need to become a reference platform in the European defense and technological system. And this goal will only be achievable if we can build a delivery capability that is by itself a competitive advantage. And this needs to be our first ambition. Without any prejudice to the strategic plan defining the mid and long-term perspectives, I would like to share with you the 3 priorities around which I will focus my position this year. First, we need to be excellent in the execution. This will not be the result of individual efforts, but rather the result of a way of working based on competitiveness and ambition, and also transparency, honesty, and generosity. We are at a very dynamic context, and nobody can achieve success by themselves. The true competitive advantage is born out of collaboration. Secondly, we have our strategic plan. Following the drive and also with the help of the board, I will work with each of the teams and divisions and our councillors in order to create a plan that is ambitious but at the same time realistic, that can use the opportunities provided by the context and that can identify honestly the investments and the changes that will be required in order to implement it. Thirdly, we can talk about talent. I am fully convinced that no matter how disruptive the new technologies are, no matter how transformative the AI might be, it is people who will be making the difference. So I will not waste any efforts in trying to achieve, acquire, and retain the best professionals. I would like to become a great employer in Europe, offering an exciting project with a purpose, capable of attracting those who really want to make an impact. And for this, we will keep on building a culture based on excellence, on innovation, where the culture of effort, the effort of overcoming oneself, and the goal orientation will be the signs of identity of our organization, because only with the best talent and having a talent that is motivated will we be able to face the challenges ahead and to consolidate the leadership of Indra. To sum up, when we share a purpose and we have the talent, we're not only best placed to achieve excellency, but also we are in a measure of building the competences that will help us build the leadership in technology that our country deserves. I would also like to explain why I decided to join in Indra as the CEO. As the chairman said, I've been working for over 25 years in the automation sector in companies in a very competitive environment and also undergoing strong pressures. And I have learned that industrial projects especially those that really leave a footprint, are those that combine discipline, ambition, and at the same time humbleness when it comes to acknowledging the things that we still need to solve. Indra is precisely this type of project, a company that has unique capabilities both in Spain and Europe, that is operating in critical sectors for the sovereignty and the safety of citizens. And we are at a time where the current decisions will define the position for the next decade. I have said yes to this because I believe in the challenge, and I have the conviction that I will be able to contribute to this project in a decisive manner. Indra is a listed company, and I demand from you trust based on results, and I commit to inform you regularly and rigorously on the advances and the priorities that I have shared with you today. We have one single goal today, to have Indra gaining value in the next 3 years, because this will mean that we will have built a company that is more sustainable, more trustworthy, and with a better position in the markets that we care about. This is the project that I'm joining in on today. Thank you very much.
The ability to innovate, develop, and manufacture in the defense sector is now a strategic priority in Spain and across Europe. At Indra Group, we are clear about this, and we have embarked on a determined path to build a strong, competitive, and sovereign industry with a European outlook and deep local roots. In Spain and beyond our borders, our industrial and technological footprint impact have continued to grow. We have strengthened our engineering and production capabilities to cover everything from nanometric components to complete structures. We have automated high-volume manufacturing processes and incorporated state-of-the-art SMD technology, enhancing our capacity and efficiency. We are expanding our industrial and technological footprint across our entire geography, aiming to quadruple it between 2024 and 2027, while progressively integrating a strong network of specialized national suppliers. But this is not only about growing fast, it is also about growing with excellence. We aim to develop the best products, meeting the highest standards of quality and reliability, with a strong commitment to milestone delivery and customer service. We are building factories ready for today, but designed with a long-term vision to become leading European hubs for innovation and technical talent, and symbols of digitalized, efficient, and sustainable reindustrialization. Driven by our intelligent platform, IndraMind, we implement full traceability of the production process and integrate advanced Industry 5.0 technologies, such as advanced use of artificial intelligence and predictive models. We also incorporate eco-design, digital twins, rapid prototyping, and collaborative robotics. At Indra Group, we know that this expansion and rapid industrial evolution will be strategic pillars in building sovereign industry and technology, both today and in the future. Indra Group.
Tiene la palabra el director.
The CFO, Mr. Miguel Forteza, will be now taking the floor.
Muchas gracias, presidente.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, shareholders. It is a privilege to address you as Chief Financial Officer of the Indra Group at this 2026 General Shareholders Meeting. I would like to thank you for your presence, the trust you place in our company, and to share with you the main financial and operational milestones that have marked our performance during the last year. The financial results for the 2025 financial year can be described as excellent, having far exceeded the objectives committed to shareholders. They are characterized by the strong growth of all the group's operational and financial metrics, together with the improvement in profitability, which is the result of the solid execution capacity deployed by the company and the increased scale, both in the domestic and international markets. Starting with the operational part, the order book has grown by 122%, which has allowed it to exceed the threshold of 16 billion euro, with solid growth in the four divisions where the defense business stands out, driven by the great contribution of the special modernization programs, which contributed close to 7 billion euros in new contracts, as well as for the more than 1,400 million euro, the 1.4 billion that we consolidated after the acquisition of the majority of Test Defense. Booking, on the other hand, increased by 139% in the year, also with a strong growth in all businesses. Standing out, the defense division, due to the aforementioned programs, but where we can also note air traffic division, strongly driven by the important contracts signed in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Spain, as well as the mobility business, thanks to urban traffic management contracts in Ireland and rail maintenance and tolls in Latin America, among others. With regard to financial results, revenues in the 2025 financial year increased by 13% to 5.4 billion euro, with all divisions showing notable growth. In defense, revenues grew by 36%, which is mainly explained by the ground vehicles area, the radars business, special modernization programs, the Eurofighter project, the space business. And in air traffic, revenues increased by 12%, showing strong double-digit growth in the Americas and in Europe, mainly supported by contracts awarded by the Federal Aviation Administration of the United States, as well as by the radar contract signed in the United Kingdom. Mobility revenues increased by 10%, showing growth in all regions, except Americas. The Middle East and Asia stood out thanks to the toll system in the Philippines and the rail transport network in Saudi Arabia. And Europe, mainly due to the ticketing contract in Ireland, as well as the ticketing and intelligent transport system businesses in Spain. In Minsait, revenues grew by 5%, highlighting the good performance recorded in public administrations, financial services, and energy and industry. If we analyze the contribution of horizontal businesses, digital solutions, which integrates the fastest growing businesses, which are artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and cloud, already represents 54% of Minsait total sale. In this context, we have continued to make progress in asset rotation, which has materialized in the divestment of the BPO business and the recent agreement for the sale of Minsait Business Consulting, in line with our strategy of focusing on the field of advanced digital technologies. These technologies reach their maximum expression with IndraMind, launched last October, with the intention of developing a sovereign artificial intelligence platform in a cyber-resilient environment for dual civilian and military use, aimed at the comprehensive protection of our citizens' territories, infrastructures, and critical assets, both physical and digital. If we analyze revenues by geographical area, we see a solid performance in all regions, led by Spain, with an increase of 17% and a contribution of 53% of total sales. It is followed by Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, with an increase of 12% and a weight of 9% of sales. For its part, Europe recorded a growth of 9%, already representing 19% of the group sales, while America increased by 5% with a weight of 19% of sales. With regard to the company's profitability, EBITDA reached 636 million euro, increasing by 17 in absolute terms and leading to an improvement in the EBITDA margin to 11.7% compared to 11.3% in 2024. The EBIT stood at 517 million euro, up 18%, and increased its margin to 9.5% from 9% a year earlier. This expansion in profitability was driven by higher growth in the most profitable division, which are defense and air traffic, and the group's higher operating leverage as a result of the increase in scale. In this way, the aerospace and defense segment already accounts for 55% of the group's total EBIT, and we expect this contribution to continue to increase in the coming years. Net profit in 2025 stood at 436 million compared to 278 million euro in 2024, which represented a growth of plus 57%, mainly as a result of operational improvement. I will now analyze the group's cash generation and indebtedness. Free cash flow reached 364 million euro in the 2025 financial year. This represents an increase of 11% compared to the previous year. This solid performance has once again been supported by a very robust fourth quarter, in line with the historical pattern of seasonality in which cash generation is mainly concentrated in the last quarter of the year. This shows that the growth in revenues and margins also translates into an increase in the company's cash generation, which therefore suggests stable and solid growth. In terms of net financial debt, the year closed with a total of 583 million euro compared to net cash of 86 million at the end of 2024. This higher indebtedness is explained by the acquisitions made in 2025 for a total of 907 million euro, highlighting the formalization of the purchase of 89.68% of Hispasat's share capital, which also allows it to reach a majority stake in Hispasat for a total of 725 million euro, and the acquisition of 26% of Test Defense for 107 million euro. This impact has been partially offset by a solid operating cash flow of 587 million euro. Gross capex, that is before the collection of subsidies, amounted to 138 million euro in 2025 compared to 111 million euro in 2024, with growth in both tangible and intangible investment beginning to reflect, among other aspects, the increase in the group's industrial footprint, which is expected to continue to increase in the coming years. As a result, the leverage ratio stands at 1 times net debt EBITDA compared to minus 0.2 times in 2024, while the consolidated cash position amounts to 1 billion euro at the end of the year. In addition, the company has 1.1 billion euro in additional credit lines, including financing from the European Investment Bank for 385 million for a defined use of funds. With respect to the fulfillment of the objectives to which we publicly committed at the beginning of the year, we can say that these results have clearly beaten each and every one of the metrics announced. The revenue target was set to exceed 5.2 billion euro, and we have reached 5.4 billion euro. For EBIT, we expected over 490 million euro, and we have achieved 517 million. And finally, for cash generation, we expected to exceed 300 million euro, and we have reached 364 million euro. As a result of all this, we have been able to take a further step in our commitment to shareholder remuneration, having propose to this general shareholders meeting the payment of a dividend of €0.3 per share against the results of the 2025 financial year, which represents an increase of 20% compared to last year's dividend. I would like to conclude this speech by conveying a clear message to our shareholders. The 2025 results show that the Indra Group is an exceptional moment, both operationally and financially, with a robust growth base for the future, supported by a record order book together with a financial situation, as we have seen, that is very solid. This is an unbeatable starting point to address the great opportunities that the Indra Group has ahead. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señor Forteza.
Thank you very much, Mr. Forteza. We will now open the round of speeches in this venue. I will now give the floor to the Secretary to give way to the speeches of the shareholders. Thank you. Before starting the round of speeches, I would like to remind the shareholders who are attending the meeting electronically that they have been able to cast their vote on the proposed resolutions included in the agenda from the moment they have connected to the app, and they will be able to do so until the end of the speaking time in this venue. I remind you that in the event that the shareholder or their representative does not indicate the direction of their vote through the app, it will be understood that they vote in favor of the proposals for resolutions formulated by the board in each item of the agenda. In relation to the round of speeches, in order to maintain a smooth functioning of the meeting, we ask the shareholders who take the floor to be as brief as possible without going beyond 3 minutes. And also with regard to the development of the questions. Mr. Jesus Pascual Campos, holder of 500 shares, has now the floor. Good morning, board, shareholders and notary. For the notary, my question is the following. I am calling upon the board with regard to the Tallerón Teguera development. This to be included in the minutes, and during a minute and a half, I'm going to be talking to the board directly. Please work harder. You are in a company that works in many fields. I've seen this. I'm going to talk about armament specifically. I'm from Asturias. I come from Gijón. And I want you to buy the Tallerón. You have to be able to negotiate. And when the board finishes, I can ask you and give you some tips on the negotiation. It is not possible that 5 or 6 million are represented in terms of a problem to acquire a land that is not product. We have to solve this situation. I'm from Asturias and I believe in Asturias. I'm a shareholder and I also believe in Indra. And I want technology to be applied. In 1 month, you have to solve the situation. In 3 months, it has to be produced. Indra has 16 billion in orders. This represents the equivalent in pesetas, and it is therefore important that we start producing. And if we don't produce, we don't manufacture, these contracts, these awards in 2027 or 28 will mean problems with regard to deliveries. So you, Mr. Recasens, you just arrived. Your words are great. But please take hold of the situation. Dear Chairman, you've talked about long term. This is great. I work in short and medium term. I need answers. We need answers. Briefly, I want Indra to be in Asturias. I want professionals with technological training to be there. This is the more final comment. The other day, waiting for the bus, I was listening to the conversation between 2 women who were going to take the bus, and one was saying an emergency call has been made. The alert that is received by mobile phones. And the other one says, well, if we go into a war, we will be receiving the first bomb because Indra's facilities are nearby. And in terms of Ukraine, it is also talked about. You wear a suit and you have a good salary to be able to be in that position. So please listen to the comments of a small shareholder. If not, next year I will have a very serious, long presentation with regard to what is not being done. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Pascual. We now give the floor to Mr. Manuel Revuelta, holder of 280 shares.
Señor presidente, señora.
Chairman, dear board members, Indra is a strategic company for the industrial sovereignty and the security of Spain. A year ago, I took the floor at this meeting to be able to reject the governance and management model of Indra and the appointment of Mr. Escribano. 1 year later, I have to strengthen this rejection. Even if Mr. Escribano is not chairing the company, his appointment and then his cessation has to do with the desire to control Indra, forgetting about the general interest of Spain. I have experienced this situation. I've received dishonest offers to be able to participate at the board, and I think that these offers have been documented if they were to be sent to the Public Prosecution's Office. In this operation with Mr. Sapa and Mr. Escribano, and I saw the absence of the CNMV with no intervention in this case. Mr. Simon. As for my concern regarding Indra and its assets, the acquisition operation of EME will be one of the main objectives governed by Moncloa, and the objective is to close it as soon as possible. Mr. Escribano has been dismissed when he was considered to be non-reliable. But this operation is still very murky. To acquire a new company for Indra with a growth that has moved from 40 million to receiving contracts for millions of euros directly awarded to it, to then be acquired by Indra for 2 billion euros. These contracts should have been awarded through open competitions to Indra and other qualified Spanish suppliers. The problem that exists here is that Moncloa is the only one that can buy it, together with the Ministry of Defense and SEPI. As administration of the company, has a loyalty duty towards Indra and all shareholders, not collaborating with this kind of operation. If this purchase operation leads to illicit actions, this has already happened in the case of the awarding. Yes, Mr. Revuelta, you have 1 more minute, but 3 minutes have already gone by. Thank you. For these reasons, Mr. Simon, and taking into account that you're part of the previous chain, I request you publicly to present your dismissal. And I also request the board so that Indra can be led by a chairman and a CEO fully committed with the creation of value for the company, the interest of the shareholders, and the general interest of Spain that is related to the DNA of this company. Thank you. Hay Derecho, shareholder, holder of 1 share, is going to take the floor now.
Sí, ¿se puede identificar, perdón, con nombre y apellidos también?
Claro.
Please state your name and surname. Zafira Cantos, director of Hay Derecho. We are holders of 1 share. As a brief introduction, we are an organization that works in the surveillance and legal assessment of the good institutional operations, regardless of the government. And this is why we follow up on public companies and companies that have a significant stake by SEPI, as is the case of Indra, and this is why we're here. We have published several comments, and we also requested the investigation by the CNMV with regard to the Indra Escribano operation. For what I wanted to say here, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, one of the matters that I think it has been subject to votation, the management report from last year and the non-financial information report, has to do with asking about the specific measures to be able to avoid situations of a permanent conflict of interest, which was the Escribano operation in the context of having Mr. Escribano chairing that company, and also with regard to the creation of the ad hoc committee and the protocol that was approved in July 2025 but wasn't made public until February this year when the CNMV requested it. So from Indra, and referring to the chairman, taking into account the improvement of corporate actions, any measures are forecasted to be able to improve transparency in these situations that can lead to the real control and to avoid the serious conflicts of interest. We are surprised that the permanent conflict of interest was not detected, and we had 1 year later the announcement by SEPI. And with regard to the good governance, corporate governance, is it possible that the chairman would not be also the executive chairman? And without going into the specific details of the personal qualities of the chairman, I would like to ask about the procedures to be able to assess the adequate nature of his appointment. But I have been surprised by the short period of time that has gone by since the public announcement of the dismissal of Mr. Escribano. Just a few hours went by with regard to the publishing of the report with the experiences and merits, personal merits of the proposed candidate. We are referring to a matter of safeguards and procedures. 3 minutes have gone by. Very briefly, 30 seconds. I just wanted to refer to any potential measures that have to do with reducing the turnover of independent board members, because there's a very significant turnover here in the company, and also with regard to making public the real reasons of the dismissal of the board members, and also a comment on the Supreme Court judgment with regard to illicit behaviors by Indra. Thank you very much. We give the floor to Teresa Canton.
Si no, Miguel. Sí.
Sí, hola.
Yes, good morning. I just wanted to ask you, the cancellation by France and Germany has been announced with regard to the future plane ETCAS. What can you say this, and how does it impact on Indra? What can you say about this?
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. We now give the floor to Miguel Alconada, represented by Constantino Pérez.
Hola, buenos días.
Good morning. I wanted to ask you After the news that have been published by the media, what is the current state of the strategic plan, and will you delay the next Capital Markets Day? Thank you. Finanzas Éticas, represented by Judith Vela, has the floor.
Buen día.
Hello, good morning. My name is Judith, and I'm here representing Desarmando Indra campaign. It is an initiative that has to do with peace, human rights, and the building of a more just society. I'm 32. I belong to a generation that has been faced by different crises: financial, pandemic, climate emergency, wars in many places of the world, and the genocide against the Palestinian population. Now we are in the face of a new armamentistic development. This is why I'm here. We're not going to talk about the economic results of this company. We're not going to admire the great technological capacity of Indra. We're not even questioning or challenging the fact that shareholders are looking for more profitability. But we do want to reflect on prosperity based on the expansion of the use of war. Indra closed the previous year with important profits and the growth of orders. Many of these orders related to the business of defense. The push of this military field has to do with space, ground vehicles, combat planes, among them Eurofighters, and also other areas related to munition. Now that 3 years have gone by with regard to Palestinian genocide, we have to talk about the complicity of Indra with the State of Israel. With regard to Ayanon campaign, an intelligent technological project on site. But these projects can also be recognized in other programs. The 8x8 Dragon vehicle with different technological Israeli components. Even if these dependencies are not structural and they are being dismounted with regard to the plan launched in 2025, we can think that many of these large programs maintain the participation of Israeli companies. This has a direct impact with regard to the business of war. And Indra is also present in the frontier control business. Technologies of vigilance, control, detection using AI applied to mobility and borders are part of a militarization model of borders that does not correspond to humanitarian principles or human rights approaches. Neither money or technology are neutral. In the same way, we can talk about vigilance or border control. We could use these resources to be able to confront bigger challenges: food security, climate change, civil protection, the prevention of natural events, sustainable vehicles, to take into account that the world is more unstable. Where does Indra want to use experience and innovation? This is a reflection for the board, but also for the shareholders of this company. You are the owners of Indra, and you are co-responsible for the course taken by this company. We also invite the employees of this company to have this reflection. We cannot forget that the biggest shareholder of Indra is the Spanish state, and therefore, from the citizenship, we can ask our request. We don't want them to devote to war, not with our money, not in our name. This is what we've heard many times. Europe needs to rearm itself, that the increase in defense and control also represents an economic opportunity. But is a society more secure if it invests more in arms? Maybe social justice, education or healthcare, international cooperation, the protection of climate and the guarantee of human rights will be more important. Wars generate significant income, but a lot of costs for many people. But these costs are not reflected in the P&L accounts. This is why we want to ask 3 questions to the board. 1, does the board consider that a company that depends on the military expenditure is growing sustainably for the next decades? 2, is the civil production putting at stake the implication in war? Is this have an impact on the civil sector? What are the connections with the Israeli companies? What about the collaboration with these other companies with regard to the Palestinian genocide? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pues, si podemos quitar la música.
If we could remove the music, we can start answering the questions. So we're going to move on to responding to the extent of our possibilities, the question asked. So to Mr. Pascual Campos, I want to thank him for his comments, but I need to ask the notary public to state the fact that the information requested by Mr. Pascual Campos exceed his right. That does not include demanding information about the topics included in the day for the call or the information that had been provided to the CNMV since the last general shareholder meetings or the report of the auditors. Secondly, the response to Mr. Revuelta will be responded by following what Mr. Simon has said, and regarding the re-election of Mr. Simon, this was done according to the internal rules and by the counseling of an external body. The governing bodies, we determined that the candidacy was responded to the requirements and this process could not be delayed any further. And both board members were interviewed by all the rest of the board members, and the assessment was profound, including the fitness for the position. When it comes to the Escribano brothers, we do not have anything else to add on this topic. Regarding another element of Mr. Revuelta's public question, all the information will be provided in the report. Also, in the remuneration report of 2026, you will have further information. When it comes to the remuneration policy for 2024-2026 was passed by the Shareholders Assembly. When it comes to the dismissal of the chairman, we will discuss this at the end of this general shareholders meeting. Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary. Regarding to the question of the shareholder, Ms. Canton, we would say that the FCAS program is still key for the European defense. We will still discuss what are the elements that will be shared by the three countries that allow interoperability between the systems. In Indra, we're still working on the PEMS, the special programs, and it is the Ministry of Defense that will mark the direction to follow. And we are capable of undertaking a development of this size together with another developer at a European level, and Indra is fully committed in supporting the ministry in their mission. Another response for shareholder, Mr. Miguel Alconada, represented by Constantino Perez, given by our CFO. Thank you, Mr. Alconada, for your question regarding the potential delay of the Capital Markets Day. We will be notifying the date when we are ready, and as we could see during this general shareholders meeting, we have seen important changes in the past weeks, and this is why we consider it necessary to have more time in order to organize this day and prepare a new strategic plan, which will be presented in due time. However, the preparations for this day have already been started, and we would hope for this to be ready before the end of the year. Thank you, Mr. Forteza. To respond, the shareholder, Hay Derecho, represented by Mrs. Zafira Campos. This will be responded by the Secretary. With regards to the first question, the company fulfills the demands by the legislation and assesses the potential conflict of interests. In relation to your second question, we refer you to the communication by the CNMV dated in 26 February 2026, and when it comes to the appointment of the CEO, I would go back to the answer by Mr. Revuelta. When it comes to the compliance program, we are implementing a program that includes the identification of risks, training, raising awareness, and a whistleblowing channel that is currently in use throughout the company. There's also an external certification that encompasses several compliance certifications for 2026. Finally, the question by Finanzas Éticas. We would say that Indra is a defense company in the aerospace sector, which are key for safety, which is necessary for sustainability. Indra is also part of a varied ecosystem operating in the defense sector that contribute to defending the lives and the way of life of European citizens, and we comply to the fullest to the legislation, also with regards to the import and export of defense material and double-use material as stated by our own codes. We provide the military forces what they need, contributing to long-term peace, international development, and we apply the respect and protection of human rights following the Convention of Human Rights of the United Nations. It is important to highlight that in the sustainability report of the group, the company informs very openly about the consultations and the different irregularities found through the whistleblowing channel, and we have not seen any complaints in this regard up until now. And with this, we would finish the round of speeches. And I remind now the shareholders attending telematically that the deadline for casting the vote on the proposed resolutions included in the agenda through the telematic attendance app is over. I will now give the floor to the Secretary to report on the final quorum. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to inform you that the counting of the cards and the attendees electronically and that the final quorum of capital attending the meeting is as follows. 158 shareholders present, holding over 50 million shares, representing 28.82% of the capital stock represented. We have 242 shareholders represented, representing 40.51% of the capital stock. In total, we have 400 shareholders, holders of 122,492,863 shares, which is almost 70% of capital stock. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. At this time, the list of attendees is closed in the terms informed, and I ratify the valid constitution at second call of this general shareholders meeting, which may deliberate and adopt resolutions on all the points included in the agenda. I will give now the floor to the notary. I would like to reiterate the question of whether there are reservations or objections to the statements relating to the number of concurrent partners or the capital present. I remind shareholders who attend electronically that in the application they have a link to this effect to transfer to this notary the reservations or objections they wish to express. Thank you very much, Mr. Notary. I give the floor to the Secretary to report on the voting procedure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I inform shareholders that in accordance with the procedure for delegation of proxies approved by the Board of Directors and detailed in the notice of the call of this general meeting, those proxy votes that have been received without a nominative expression from the person to whom it is delegated or have been generically conferred on in favor of the Board of Directors have been granted in favor of the Secretary of the Board, who is the Secretary of the Council. In accordance with the provisions by the bylaws and expressly stated in the notice of call at this general meeting, the company has enabled the necessary means for shareholders to exercise their voting rights or delegate their representation through remote means of communications which have been duly counted for the purposes of the quorum of attendance referred to above. Likewise, in the event that the shareholder or their representative has not indicated the direction of their vote with respect to the proposed resolutions included in the agenda, it has been understood in any case that they vote in favor of those formulated by the Board of Directors. As mentioned in the notice of call, for the purposes of the provisions of Articles 523 and 26 of the Capital Companies Act, it is hereby stated that if the representative is a director of the company, he or she may be in a situation of conflict of interest in relation to point 4, 5th, 7th, and 10th of the agenda, and in the case of the chief CEO, also in relation to items 8 and 9 of the agenda, as well as with respect to proposals for resolutions other than those formulated by the board on matters that, although not on the agenda of the meeting, may be put to a vote at the meeting as permitted by law, both in the cases of delegation in favor of the secretary of the meeting and in favor of a member of the board of directors. The rules established in the notice of convocation of the meeting shall apply, including cases in which the delegation extends to proposals for resolutions other than those made by the board of directors or to matters not included in the agenda as required. The result of the votes will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting and will be published on the company's website in the manner and within the period established for this purpose in Article 525 of the Capital Companies Act. However, if any shareholder wishes to know the specific result of the vote of an item of the agenda at the meeting itself, they may request it, since this is available in our systems in real time. Those shareholders who have not yet cast their vote and wish to vote against or abstain on any of the items on the agenda proposed by the board, please approach the voting table at this time. And now we will proceed to the vote on the proposed resolutions on the agenda. In order not to excessively prolong the duration of the meeting, and given that the full text of the resolutions that are put to the vote has been available to the shareholders from the very moment of the call, I indicate in summary the content of the resolutions that are submitted for approval by the meeting. The first item on the agenda proposes approval of the annual accounts and the individual and consolidated management reports for the 2025 financial year. And the second, the consolidated statement of non-financial information and sustainability information for the 2025 financial year is submitted. In the third, the proposal for the application of the result of the 2025 financial year and the consequent distribution of a dividend. In the fourth, the management of the board for directors for the financial year 2025 is submitted for approval. In the fifth point, the proposals to set the number of members of the board of directors at 4 and for the ratification, re-election, and appointment of the directors that will be indicated in the respective votes. In point 6, the authorization for the reduction of the period for the call of the extraordinary general meeting is put to the vote at least 21 days in advance under the protection of the authorization established in Article 515 of the Capital Companies Act. 7, the director's remuneration policy is put to a vote. 8, the authorization for the delivery of shares to the Chief Executive Officer as annual variable remuneration is put to a vote in accordance with the provisions of the Directors' Remuneration Policy submitted for approval in the previous point for the purposes of Article 219 of the Capital Companies Act. And 9, the approval of the medium-term incentive until 2030 is put to a vote for the purposes of Article 219 of Capital Companies Act. 10, the annual report of Directors' Remuneration for 2025 is submitted to the General Meeting. 11th, it is proposed to empower the Chairman, the Vice Chairman, the Secretary and the Deputy Secretary of the Board of Directors to formalize, register and execute the resolutions adopted by the General Shareholders Meeting. Once the content of the proposed resolution has been read in summary after the voting has been completed and the votes cast have been counted in accordance with the information received by this Bureau, we can report that each and every one of the proposed resolutions that make up the agenda have been approved. The individual details of the votes will be published on the company's corporate website after the end of the General Shareholders Meeting. With regard to the 5th item of the agenda, on the determination of the number of members of the Board of Directors and on the ratification, re-election and appointment of directors whose proposed resolutions have been voted on individually and separately, each in accordance with the provisions of Article 197 bis of the Capital Companies Act, we will now obtain the acceptance of the re-elected or appointed directors. Ratification and re-election of Mr. Ángel Simón Grimaldos with the status of other external director. Mr. Simón, do you accept the position for which you have been ratified and re-elected and declare that you are not involved in any of the causes of incompatibility? Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. President. Ratification and re-election of Mr. Josep María Requesens Laguarda with the status. Mr. Requesens, do you accept the position for which you have been ratified and re-elected and declare that you're not involved in any of the causes of incompatibility for the position of director? Yes, I do. Thank you. Appointment of Mrs. Magdalena Jacoba Bertram López as proprietary director. On behalf of Amber Capital UK LLP, Mrs. Bertram, do you accept the position to which you have been appointed and declare that you are not involved in any of the causes of incompatibility for the office of director? Yes, I do. With regards to the proposal of agreement for the dismissal of the chairman of the Board of Directors in application of Article 12.4 of the law, this proposal is not compatible with the General Shareholders Meetings agenda. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. In view of the result of the votes that have just been taken, all the resolutions submitted to this meeting are declared approved and the meeting is formally adjourned. Thank you very much again for your participation and trust.